Stripe is the go-to choice for AI companies, from early-stage startups to scaled enterprises. 78% of the leading AI companies use Stripe to go to market quickly and scale globally. That includes pioneers like NVIDIA, OpenAI, and Perplexity. Stripe has developed cutting-edge tools to improve everything from fraud detection to checkout optimization. Whether you're aiming for incremental gains or planning for enterprise transformation, see how Stripe can help at stripe.com.
Life insurers put life into the things you live for. The new factory that's hiring your neighbors. Maintenance on the bridge that keeps traffic flowing. The paycheck that puts pizza night on the table. Life insurers contribute $8 trillion to the U.S. economy through bond purchases and other investments, and protect the financial security of 90 million American families, like yours. See how life insurers put life into America at acli.com. Paid for by the American Council of Life Insurers.
Today's show is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play in this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Did you know that Game Pass or Pass is brought to you for free because of Spotify for podcasters? It's a totally free platform, and you can make a podcast today for free. Spotify for podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are heard. And if you're thinking about taking your podcast to the next level with a video podcast, Spotify can help you too. With Spotify for podcasters, you can also earn money in a variety of ways that includes ads and podcast subscriptions. So what are you waiting for? Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcast to get started right now.
It's now time for a very state of the Game Pass edition of Game Pass or Pass, the podcast where we normally talk about games on Microsoft's Game Pass service and tell you which games to pass on to your friends and which games to simply pass on by. But this week's a little bit different. It's that time of the year, kind of. Normally at the end of the year, we talk about Game Pass and just give our general sort of consensus on how we feel about the service as we make a podcast about it. But this year's a little bit different in that we've got a new console coming out, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, along with the other Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo news. But before all that, I am your host, Corey. I am joined by the one and the only Basher.
What is the deal, good sirs?
Is your microphone working?
We've been here for about 45 minutes trying to get Skype and microphones to work and then speakers to work. This has been a whole ordeal. I'm glad you guys are here with us in this frustrating evening.
It's you would think it would just work, right? Like it's 2020. Maybe Skype got COVID. Maybe is that.
Why is there not a podcasting app at this point? Just
there's got to be a reason.
Why do I even need Skype? Why do I need Skype, Discord, or anything else? Just an app that does this.
There's got to be a reason. There just has to be. There just has to be. All right. So before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping here. So you previously heard all of our episodes that were in the what do I want to say? Hopper? Is that the right word that I'm looking for? Hopper?
Sure.
Normally, we were going to be doing an episode on Destiny 2, which we have started playing, but in the midst of when everything was going on, all of the content that we wanted to cover has officially been delayed to November 10th, which is actually the launch of the Series X. But, so the whole point of covering that stuff was that we were going to be covering they're specifically in the new version of Destiny, they're trying to help people get acclimated with the game. Since that was delayed, the Destiny 2 episode will be delayed because there's no point. I shouldn't say there's no point, but that was the whole point of us trying to cover it, is as we are not new players, but we are new to Destiny 2 since basically the first, 6 months since it came out. So that episode will now be delayed until probably the first or second week after the Series X comes out, along with that update. So we also got a voicemail that we won't be reading on this episode specifically just because it doesn't make a lot of sense in that aspect. So, but that got me thinking, and it got a what's the word I'm looking for? That voicemail is from Samuel. So Samuel, we will be reading your voicemail and responding to it, just not in this episode. But we have decided to get a Google Voice number in the 21st century because maybe we're just old and maybe that's how podcasting does it nowadays. So if you want to, you can send us a voicemail at 574-651-9256. If you don't want to write in, totally understand. Gives it a little bit easier, and we will read that on the air. We'll talk about it, etc., etc. So
You also get text messages on that too. So if you're that lazy.
So yeah, I am not familiar with the Google Voice world. Basher has told me all this stuff, so I'm going with him. But no, thank you very much, Samuel, for sending a voicemail, taking the time to do that. Really do appreciate it. He specifically wanted to talk a little bit about Crusader Kings 3, so we'll do that on the next regular episode, and we'll respond to that and go into detail about that. So it was actually a very very insightful voicemail. So, but all right, Game Pass. Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, Bethesda buyout. All of it is relevant in this conversation. So where do we want to start? Do we want to start with how we feel about Game Pass? I think that's probably a good thing to start with this year.
I mean, just overall, sure. I mean,
we started this podcast in the middle of the year last year, so we won't have a full year with Game Pass this year before we do this episode. But obviously, we're going to keep doing this, so we will have a full year. But so last year it was a little bit different. This year we've got a lot more time, and I think we ended last year feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember saying the service was essentially a good service, but at the same time, I don't think I went full on and say it's a necessary service, because to leave the Bethesda buyout stuff for the later in the conversation, I would say going into the next half of Game Pass, I would say my feelings were pretty consistent in the sense of that we offer thousands of titles and you're going to play a couple of them. So like it was really hard to try to find the titles worth playing. Coincidentally enough, on the Microsoft like Game Pass podcast, most of them are not Microsoft games.
Which was sort of the same thing last year. Obviously we had less time, so it was a little bit different, but I mean, gosh, out of the Microsoft games that we have played, I don't think we've recommended most of them.
We definitely have not. We're definitely the lower end.
That's a problem. Like,
I think it's definitely a problem. I personally think it's a Microsoft won't see it this way, but just as a gamer, if you will, I see it as a huge issue where it's a matter of you basically. At this point, I feel like you're getting this Game Pass to play other people's games.
I'm looking at this, and I don't know. Maybe it doesn't feel that way, but maybe it's just because what we've been playing. But the games that we have recommended so far from Microsoft are Wasteland 3, Flight Simulator, Battletoads.
Wasteland 3 is the Microsoft joint?
Yeah, that is a Microsoft game. So Wasteland 3 is a weird one.
Yeah.
Say that again?
I'm about to say, we said the same thing. That's a weird one because it wasn't.
Yeah. So it is now because they bought that studio, but
exactly.
That game did come out. Yeah, that game did come out and other things. But so they also did Gears Tactics, Bleeding Edge, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Right. So we actually do have, and we started this year with Sea of Thieves. So that wasn't a new game, but so it's actually about 50-50 in terms of Microsoft quote titles that we've talked about. So it's 50-50 is still not great, but that's actually looking at the list now. I actually felt like we had way more passes than we did.
I'm pretty sure we did because we passed on Gears as well.
Yeah, Gears Tactics. And tell me why. Tell me why it was technically a Microsoft game as well.
Gears 4, 5 proper, whichever Gears that was. I lost count of my Gears.
So, yeah, well, Gears Tactics was this year, but Gears 5 was last year.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're right. You're looking at just this year. You're right.
Yeah, just this year, yeah. So
but
I guess, but
overall, I'm unsatisfied with Microsoft's first-party games or whatever, because the best game for me is Game of the Year right now, and it's not and it's a game they bought kind of after the fact.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I guess I would agree too. Because my game of the year is different than yours. But now that is also now owned by Microsoft. So,
Right, exactly.
right. So I guess the future looks bright.
I mean,
But
right.
no, so
I guess my issue with Game Pass is still a sense of, um, we got quantity, but do we have quality? And for a while, you can argue it's not that was a big issue, but honestly, at this point, if you're buying an Xbox and you don't have Game Pass, I'm confused as to why you bought the Xbox.
yeah, I actually completely agree. And I think that we can move that right into the Xbox Series X and Series S talk, versus PlayStation 5 and stuff. But yeah, no, I agree in that obviously our take on this is a little bit different because we do one game a week, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes we spin the wheel. So there are definitely better games on Game Pass than we're playing. But the whole point that we want to do this is sometimes we want to put the library to the test. They make a big deal about these day one games, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not. But if you're making a big deal about it, we want to know why. We want to see if it's PR, basically. But you bring up the point of, at this point, even if you're on PC, like at $10 a month, whether you're on one platform or at $15 for two, like if you are buying an Xbox Series X or an S and you're not getting Game Pass, I'm confused. And what's even more strange is when you look at the launch lineup for both the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, I think the PlayStation 5 has a slight
they're both trash. They're both absolute trash.
Yeah, they're both not great. But Microsoft losing Halo was probably the big one. Obviously, that was supposed to be a launch title that is not happening anymore. So, the story for the Series X is backwards compatibility and Game Pass, which is launching a console on that is extremely strange. Now, do we have to take COVID into consideration? Probably, but the fact that Halo Infinite was supposed to be the one game, and kudos to Microsoft for pushing that because it looked like it needed to be pushed, but hinging your console on that is a little strange to me.
I would not say kudos to Microsoft because they showed it in hopes that no one would notice the awful state it was in. But yeah, like if this is the Game Pass machine at this point, and if you don't got it doesn't make
is that good or bad though?
I mean, again, like I'm personally speaking, as kind of a older, 34-year-old gamer who's used to exclusives, I think it looks stupid. like I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it personally. However, you can't beat the value. You can't ignore the value. If I was being as informed as I am, if I was buying this console for like let's say like a niece or a nephew or something, or rather if I had the choice of a PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, I'll go Xbox Series X simply because here's the system, here's $20, play all the games for at least a month. So you really can't beat it.
Yeah, and that's sort of becoming the story. And, to get into a little of the console war, territory of games versus quantity, I don't, the notion that everything on Game Pass is quality or quantity over quality is a ridiculous argument because there are very good games on Game Pass. Now, where I think Microsoft has sort of, I don't want to say screwed up, because Microsoft is not going to come out and say Battletoads is fine. Like, they're not going to do that. They're going to come out and say it's a great fighter, etc. So that's kind of the reason that we do the show, again, is to put this to the test. But there have been significantly fantastic games on the service day one, such as Wasteland 3. And so I don't like that argument of quantity over quality. I don't think it's true. So when you put that into the context of looking at a machine and basing it on a service, like you, it feels kind of gross to me, but at the same time, like, I'm not mad at it. It feels gross because it's different, but at the same time, as a gamer, I'm playing more games.
Right.
And that's where a lot of these console war arguments lose me, because anytime a new game is shown, such as like Scorn got shown off today, which is there's a pretty good chance you probably haven't even heard of Scorn or know what it is. And
You just
I'll be
said
honest,
it, and I still don't know what it is.
yeah, it looks okay, but not every game shows well. I look at something like Spiritfarer, and that was a game that, like, looking at the trailers, I was just like, I don't know, man. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's a
never would
good
have bought
one.
that game.
That's a good point. That's the perfect game to.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal video game. That is
Man,
that's
I
one of
love
the
that
best
game.
games I've played in a long time. And if it wasn't for Game Pass, I either would have played it way later, or I might not have played it at all. More than likely, I wouldn't have played it at all. And it's not for the lack of not wanting to. It's just there's too much risk involved sometimes. My time is valuable and my money is valuable. So I look at it, and while people really want to throw that quantity over quality, I look at the stuff that I've discovered because of Game Pass. Not all of it is fantastic, but that's just how it is. While some people might not find Spiritfarer amazing, I did. I really, really enjoyed that game. And it can go the other way too, with something like, let me just look at the list here. Minecraft Dungeons. That was one that we passed on, but a lot of people really like that game. And not just because of the Minecraft name. I don't get it, but more power to them. So not every single game that we play is going to be good. And to us, though. And I think as a gamer, that's where I think Game Pass, you really win, is that you will discover something. And I can say that confidently, that at some point with Game Pass, you will discover something that you didn't know you wanted to play. That's awesome.
And I think
But
that's
to bring it back,
great
go ahead.
for Xbox gamers specifically, because Xbox gamers do not play these other types of games. Wastelanders 3 is probably not a big seller for Xbox. Neither is Spiritfarer. Neither is a lot. I mean, Ori might have done it, but it's still like these games, these quality games that aren't shooters and racers get lost by the wayside when it comes to Xbox gamers. A lot of these games,
And-
including I'm Sunset Overdrive, perfect example.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that was on PlayStation, it would be a PlayStation Greatest Hits title. So like I think the best thing, as you were kind of saying, is the best thing about Game Pass for Xbox players specifically is that you guys get to try out different games.
And I think specifically that plays into Microsoft this generation. The Xbox One was, it's not a failure by any means, but it is by far their weakest offering that they've had of the Xbox legacy. And it all started with that launch year. Those first couple of years were extremely rough for them. They made a lot of bad bets. A lot of stuff got canceled. A lot of stuff got pushed. A lot of stuff didn't live up to the hype. I mean, Crackdown 3 took forever to come out. Scalebound got canceled. Fable Legends got canceled. Halo 5 didn't set the world on fire. Master Chief Collection launched extremely broken. They made a lot of bad bets. It's on them. Whereas, on the opposite side, most of Sony's first party, even if the game isn't for you, it found an audience kind of thing. And then you had stuff on Microsoft's side like Sunset Overdrive that just didn't. Sunset Overdrive is one of my favorite games this gen, easily, probably top 5, but nobody played that game. And like you said, and that's just because the Xbox market, the people that stuck with Microsoft even through the turmoil and the straight up just bad years that they had, are the people that are playing Gears and Forza and Halo. They're not playing Sunset Overdrive. They're not playing Spiritfarer, So Sony has done a much better job at conditioning their audience to try out these games that they put their force behind. So,
For whatever reason, because it's not like they ever gave us, and I say us and them in the sense that in this podcast, you're the Xbox guy, I'm the PlayStation guy. They never gave us any reason to. They never said, "Hey, here's like the summer of indie games," like Xbox 360 did. They would just drop
Right.
an indie game and say, "Hey, play it." if you don't, I don't care.
And
Like,
I think I mean, a lot of that was the push up to the PlayStation 4. They really were on an indie thing. I mean, I
remember that. Yeah.
It's crazy to think that was like 8 years ago now, but it really was. The launch of the PlayStation 4 was piggybacked with indie titles, and it became such a marketing point for them. And it just, I think you've said it more than I have. Just the best advertisement for the Xbox One or for the PlayStation 4 was the Xbox One. They just could not get their head out of their rear when it came to talking about the machine, when it came to supporting the developers. They got there, but they got there 3 years too late. So to bring this back around, how do we feel about the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S? And I mean, that's a conversation in itself, having two SKUs, but how do we feel about those machines or this generation going into them?
I'm much more jaded than most people when it comes to these new machines. I was almost equally jaded with the for the current gen when they showed off their tech, because for me it always becomes which games have the best graphics, which games run like the highest frame rate. Well, that's the newest one anyway. And it's like, which one's 8K ready? Like, that's all cute and stuff, but which one of you guys has like the better games? Like, which one of you guys like develop a game where the AI is actually phenomenal, where the art style is not realistic, but an actual art style? Like, so like, when it comes to the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S, first of all, your name convention is garbage. It's trash. Like
I don't hate it as many. Like, I don't love it, but I know people
completely despise it. There are people already buying the wrong pre-ordering or buying the wrong console.
That is such a minute thing. That's the internet blowing it out of proportion.
The fact that it happened one time.
Sure, I'll give it to you.
That's stupid. Like, you can't. If someone says, "I want the new PlayStation 5," no one's going to say, "Here's PlayStation 3 for you." Like, no, 3, 5,
Sure.
2 different. Like, it's real simple. But that aside, it's kind of like at this point when it comes to the Xbox Series X or S series, I'm just like, I have zero reason to purchase that. Even with, let's say I didn't have the PC. Hypothetically speaking, I still would have zero reason to do it, because I'm the type of gamer where if you tell me you can play all of Ubisoft's games or whatever, I'm like, I don't like their games anyway. Like, if you can say you can play all of these amazing titles, we have thousands of titles, I'm going to say hundreds of those are absolute garbage. Like, which ones should I play? And if it ends up being 3 to 5 games out of the year, should I buy this console? If it ends up being 1 to 2 games out of the year, should I buy this console? In the sense of Xbox Series X or S, it's honestly going to be 1, maybe 2 games worth buying the year. The rest of it's going to be third party, not take true advantage of the console, which leads me to believe this system right now, these SKUs are completely useless until sometime next year, where games start coming out and they start putting things on Game Pass specifically that are like, hey, play this new indie title on this new console, where we take advantage of something from the new console. But by take advantage, I don't mean runs at 60 frames per second. That's the new floor level of what a game should do. Like, it needs to be. I'm waiting for some sort of killer app to come out, and it just has none for me.
Yeah, I agree, but I also don't, because when it came time to throw the money down for I was fairly certain that I was going to go PS5 first, probably mid-year this year. And that was because at that time they had shown off, Miles Morales, they had shown off Sackboy Adventures, they had shown off Horizon, Demon's Souls. And so in anticipation, I sold my PS4 Pro, and then which I got a great price on it. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to use that money. I'm going to be able to upgrade to the PS5 for like $200. Like, I'm in. But then they announced that Miles Morales and Horizon were cross-gen, and I was a little salty. Like, I was just like, well, that's like, that was kind of rude. Like, you've 100% sold these titles as being PS5 only games, and me being in the know of this hobby, I was just like, when you look at the competition, and Microsoft has said that, you know, they're going to be doing a lot of cross-gen stuff, you know, I was like, I'm not mad at I'm never going to be mad at you for being cross-gen. They're going to do it what makes sense business-wise. So I did not agree with Microsoft's decision. So that's why I was going to go with PlayStation, and I was going to hang on to my One X. And that's the other sort of, I don't want to say problem, but other thing that, you know, really is just weird is that the One X is such a great piece of hardware. If we had only had the original Xbox One and the original PS4, I think we'd be having a different conversation. But the PS4 Pro and the One X definitely changed things, because in my brain, I was like, well, I'm just going to hang on to the One X. Like, it's still going to play everything in a great resolution, and it's probably going to do it at a lower frame rate. But at the end of the day, I can do that for a year. But now, as we're ramping up to the next gen, I only have the Series X pre-ordered, and I have no desire to buy a PlayStation 5 right now. And that is mainly because they said that stuff is going to be cross-gen, which again, I will play those games, but I'm not jumping at it anymore. I'm not jumping at the PlayStation 5 to see Miles Morales and see Horizon and see all of those games. You know, Demon Souls is the one that is not cross-gen. It's made from the ground up, etc. But I already played Demon Souls, and I have zero desire to play Demon Souls again. So
I want to jump back into that so bad. I hate myself for it.
I'm not mad at it, but I've talked to other people, and I'm like, I have no desire to play Demon Souls again. And they look at me kind of like, why not? And I'm like, I just don't. Like,
you just played it. Like, it's fine.
Right. Like, there becomes this like animosity that because I have a Series X pre-ordered, that I just don't get it. And I'm just like, no, like, I don't think you get it. I have a Series X pre-ordered because I'm going to be playing these games anyway. I might as well play them in the highest fidelity, since I'm not getting a PlayStation 5. But when I look at the launch lineup for both of these machines, I'm with you in that I don't feel great about any of them. But the caveat is that I feel okay about the Series X because of Game Pass. Like, even though I know that I'm not getting a game that's going to be built from the ground up for that machine for at least a year, maybe more, the fact that I'm going to be able to play something in Game Pass is what pushed me towards it. I was like, I'm going to be playing these games anyway. Might as well play them in the highest fidelity that I can on a console. So I guess it's a weird thing to say that I don't feel great about the hardware, and it's the service that truly sold me on it. And so when I try to extrapolate that, and like you said, I look at the Series X and the S, I'm just kind of like, I think we really have reached the point of, if you have Xbox and you don't have Game Pass, you're doing it wrong. It doesn't make any sense anymore to not have Game Pass with an Xbox. And I'm sure that's by design. That is not an accident by any means. That's what they want you to do. They want you to have the service over the hardware. They can keep making money on the service. They don't keep making money on the hardware. So that's a scary thought. As someone who has been, gaming for, literally over 20 years now, that's scary to me that a service is selling me on video games.
It makes financial and business sense. But just as looking at it as not to sound all hoity-toity about it, but as a fan of the art form, it just seems so Microsoft. It's like,
it really does. Yeah.
It's like what I mean by that is Microsoft became Microsoft because of their, not only their great tech, but mostly their business savvy. Like, if there's competition, you buy them out. If you see someone do something, you do it better. And it's like, and they were first a few times, but their marketing sucks, as it always does. But yeah, the series, as great as a service as Game Pass is, it is becoming, or going to become, completely gross to me. It's going to be the unavoidable gross. it's going to be like the loot box you have to buy kind of thing, where it's like
Right.
you didn't want to get that pay money to get that costume, but you did. And it's like I didn't want to spend another month on Game Pass, but I am because I have a PC and I want to play some games, and it's almost
What's
against my wallet to not do it.
right. It becomes the point. It's like, and that's the thing is like, you don't have to have Game Pass. You can still
You
buy every
don't.
single one of these games,
Right.
And then, but they've made the value so ridiculous in that it's just like, man, it truly kind of is that once you do it kind of thing. Like, I mainly buy my movies still, but it's gotten to the point to where I only buy movies that I really like. I used to buy every movie that I was like this movie's okay. It's $5, I'll buy it. But it got to the point where I'm just like, why am I doing that? Like, and it's the same thing with games. Like, my 360 collection was stupid. I had over like 200 discs, took up all this space, and I guess maybe I'm just getting old now, but like, I asked myself, like, why am I doing this? And now I've kind of reached that with Xbox of just like, or in games in general, it's just like, why am I spending all this money when it's on Netflix, when I can rent this movie once for $5, and it just, to me, it just makes more sense from a time perspective as well as just from an ownership perspective. But at the same time, taking away that, making the option to own it look bad, some people would argue is antitrust and, is anti-consumer and all those other words that people throw around.
It absolutely is, but you're at a point where you have to be. Oh, I think it absolutely is. I mean, because my cousin was playing Red Dead Redemption religiously for a while, big fan of it. All of a sudden, he turns it on one day. He's like, "Yo, bro, like, why can't I play Red Dead?" I'm like, I don't know what happened. It's like, and then it dawned on me, like, oh, it's past its life cycle on Game Pass. If you want to play it, if you wanted to even play it again, you have to buy it now, or you should have bought it off Game Pass for a discounted price. And it's one of those things where it's like, I guess if you try it, you buy it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't.
Right, but
it seems it's a dirty practice to me. But it's not dirty in the sense that it's. I don't know. It's a weird way to put it. It's playing.
I think,
I don't know.
Red Dead, I think, is one of the exceptions though. Like, because Red Dead sold 50 million copies. I don't know if it was that many, but
Right.
Whereas, I look at stuff on Game Pass and. Something like our most recent episodes of like Darksiders Genesis, Tell Me Why, Carrion, and No Man's Sky, and all of these games that I very likely would have bought at some point to give it a shot, but at the same time, they're not worth the value that they're asking. And that's where I look at something like Game Pass, and like, people get really upset at people that sort of take on these digital services like Netflix, and we're in the middle of a streaming war. Everyone's got a streaming service now, and everyone's all up in arms about owning their content, etc. And part of me is like, I agree with you, but this notion that it's bad for the consumer, I just don't agree, because these markets are so flooded with subpar content. If the answer to that question is I can save money and I don't get to own everything, but I can still own the stuff that I really want to, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with giving you some of my rights to not own the stuff that I don't want to own. Like, if I would have bought something like Tell Me Why, I would have felt ripped off as a consumer. I don't think that game was worth my money. Whereas on Game Pass, yeah, I don't own it, but I got to play it, experience it, and say, hey, it's not for me. And I don't have to play it anymore. And then I look at something like Yoku's Island Express, to where I never would have discovered without the service of Game Pass. And I bought that game. I bought a copy of that game because I want to have it. I think that's a much better proposition, and I don't feel like that harms the consumer in any way. And that's where I get lost with this notion of this is bad for the consumer. It's bad for people who support it's bad for the industry for people that support Game Pass and all this stuff. I just don't buy it. But maybe I'm in the minority on that one. But
I mean, on face value, I agree with all of that. I think I think I feel rather. This is going purely based on feel. I feel like the idea of the service is going to breed bad practices. It is going to stretch across the art form in a way where it's going to be just noticeable enough to where it's like, oh, these games and services things is having a negative effect on not only the art form but the way consumers do business with the art form. I can't say what exactly specifically how that's going to be, but I just feel that way because it just doesn't. There's no way. I mean, just a matter of like no one's going to do something. No company's going to do something for you as a consumer to be like, hey, we're doing this for you, like because we care about you. Rather, this is all.
They'll try to sell it that way, but
exactly right. As a Sony fanboy, like we've gone through that many times. So where it's like, on face value, what you're saying is absolutely correct, but like at the same time, there's a scratching at the back of my neck where it's like, okay, games as a service, you're like, how are you trying? Like, what are you going to do in the future to? Because
what's your angle here?
Because it's like you said, like you touched upon. At this point, it's stupid to be on an Xbox machine and not have Game Pass. It's getting to be dumb to have a PC and not have it.
Right.
So when everyone's in it, when you have the millions and millions and millions of the Rocks fans like going subscribe to Game Pass, what hook are you going to hit us with to be like, all right, now we got you. These are the terms and conditions. Like, because right now it's like, yeah, I tried, I buy it, but what does that mean going forward? Because as of right now, it's fine. But what are you leading to? I don't trust Microsoft at all. I don't trust any of them. But
right, I guess I just don't. 18-year-old me would have thought that way, but at the same time, like I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm just like, I'll cross that bridge when it gets there.
Oh, like, that's where I'm at. Exactly. Right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't think that way. And that's where they get upset. It's just like, well, someday they're going to take away something or one day they're going to raise the price on you. And I'm like,
which is fine. Yeah. Like,
right? Like they might. And at that point, I either make the choice as a consumer to either keep subscribing or cancel.
Oh, don't. Right.
And that's how I view it. So I'm, as someone who was a MoviePass subscriber and saw more movies than they had any right seeing, it's gone now. It sucks. It sucks that it's gone because I was able to do so many things, but the industry didn't take it. Sometimes stuff happens and it disappears and their experiments and they go away. And this seems like one that's not going to go away. And they're probably going to make mistakes. There is no way that, at least I don't see there's any way that at some point during the Xbox Series X and S lifespan that the price of Game Pass does not go up. I totally think it will. But at $20, I'm still in. Like because I've seen the value of that service. And go from there. But I mean, I will say that it I guess we can sort of pivot now into, so, they on November 10th, they're going to be adding the EA Play access. It was already called EA Access. So they're adding access to EA Play, which has access to their vault, which has got some of the, it's got all their old games minus the one that you wanted, which is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It's got stuff like Anthem. It's got the latest Need for Speeds, the sports games going there, et cetera, et cetera. And then they also, leading up to the Series X, they announced that they plan to purchase Bethesda for $7.5 billion. So those are two major factors that are going to be playing into the next year of Game Pass. And so going into next year in the Series X, how do we feel about Game Pass and the moves that they're making as a publisher and console maker?
I have two thoughts on it. As a consumer of Game Pass, I'm excited for it because why not? More games on the service where we're hoping to be the same price. And then the other side of that coin is looking at the bigger picture. It's like, oh, Microsoft, you're doing your Microsoft thing. Just you're buying out the competition. And it's like, again, it's like, I hate to make Microsoft seem like this big evil company because they're not. They're just a company.
No, they are. They can. I mean,
they're a company. They're not any more evil than, I don't think, Amazon or Sony or like.
No, I guess I rank all those as pretty evil. Like, and I don't mean evil,
exactly.
Like they're trying to kill you, but it's just like, no, like there are serious concerns in terms of consumer antitrust laws and competition, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. So that's what we're on the same page. It's like they're evil, and I'm not. I don't want to paint them like the most or whatever.
Right. Like, but they're not murdering people.
Exactly. So it's like, so that's the other side of the coin. Where I'm just like, so you couldn't beat Sony at making the games in the game making business. So you're just going to buy the games. I mean, it's business. That's all I can say about it. Really, it's just business. You, as a Sony fanboy, like I'm just like, I expected nothing less of you, Microsoft. You try. I mean, and that goes to with saying they legitimately tried. They honestly tried to make just different games that appeal to a mass market, that even appeal to a smaller niche market. They spent years and millions of money just trying to nestle even the smallest foothold in Japan, and like they're like, the entire Asian market is like, no, you don't want anything you're doing here.
Get out. Yeah.
So it's like
Lost Odyssey. Like Lost Odyssey is considered one of the best RPGs ever, and nobody played it. Like, I mean, to say nobody played it, that's not fair, but that was a huge, they partnered with Square Enix on, was it 3 or 4 exclusive RPGs, and that also included a port of Final Fantasy 13. And like you said, that was during the 360 at its best.
Right.
And people still said, no, don't want it. Like, sorry. So
for them to buy Bethesda or companies like Bethesda, it makes perfect sense, because what do they make? They make the games that Xbox players play. It almost makes, in a way, it was almost unnecessary, considering if someone's playing the next Fallout game, they're probably gonna play it on Xbox anyway. Like they could have did a partnership with Game Pass, like a regular Game Pass partnership. They didn't almost didn't have to buy it.
That's been thrown around quite a bit, of saying it's like, they probably just could have made a Game Pass deal and been fine with it. But at the same time, like, I look at something like a Sunset Overdrive, or even like an Alan Wake, in where, or even in the worst case scenario, Scalebound. Like, they partnered with Platinum, they put all this time and money into it, and at the end of the day, they got nothing.
Right.
They have absolutely nothing to show for it. Whereas if you buy the studio and you buy the IP, at least at the end of the day, somebody will buy that from you. Your investment, you'll get some return on it.
So I'm, as a Game Pass subscriber, I have to be excited, because it's the only way I can play these games going in the future. But personally speaking, I'm not really that excited by it, because I mean, I'd have to go down Bethesda's releases this year, but I mean,
I guess we should preface, it was ZeniMax and Bethesda, because we keep saying Bethesda. But so the more important one is actually the ZeniMax partnership, because that includes Doom, Dishonored, Evil Within, Wolfenstein. It does include Bethesda games, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Starfield, Ghostwire Tokyo. All those studios that made those games.
Super huge. It's you can't. It's the biggest transaction in history of gaming. So it's like, if you're an Xbox player, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you have to be excited. But if you're on the outside of that, it's like, what's next? What does this mean? And how do other companies compete?
Yeah, I mean, I basically want to, like, I agree entirely as a man.
Personally speaking,
When I
I'm going to say I'm not that excited for it because I don't really play their games. Like for me, I'll be missing out on Doom. Like I don't really like if you told me I can never play another Elder Scrolls game, I'm gonna be okay with that because they make the same game. If you
so
tell me I keep it in a Fallout game, great, because I play Fallout 4, not impressed. But
right, and
there's certain games
so
there.
when I was sitting in my office, just sort of scrolling through, and I saw that news, and my instant reaction was, let's go. Like that is a huge move. And then when I started looking at the list of games, I was just kind of like you, I mean, if you listen to any type of, if you've been with us for a while, Doom is my game, so that was the first one. I was just like, man, like I was going to play Doom no matter what anyway. But to have that IP exclusive is a huge thing for hardcore gamers. But at the same time, Doom is not an Elder Scrolls. Doom is not a God of War. It does not sell 20 million copies. And so I started looking at the list of like the Fallout 76s and the Fallout 4. And like, I look at Bethesda as a studio, their output, and I'm just kind of like, I'm with you in that I cannot deny the power of the Fallout name and the Elder Scrolls name.
Right.
But I have to wonder, like, they've had some serious missteps in those franchises, and even fans of those games have agreed with that. So
And Microsoft isn't I guess you could still call them studio. They're not a company that does well overseeing game production. Like
no, yeah,
when they bought ZeniMax, they literally just bought ZeniMax and said, "All right, keep doing what you do."
yeah, and I think part of that problem is though, when you see what when Microsoft lets companies do experiment, it seems like like this might sound redundant, but when you trust your studio, good things can happen. Gears, for the most part, has been Microsoft's best handled IP this generation. They left the studios alone. Those games did not light the world on fire, but they are good games. Whereas you look at something like Halo, to where they basically created a studio specifically to make Halo. They bought the IP. They let the original developers go. And I understand that a lot of people that that created Halo 3 and Reach and stuff stayed with the team, but a lot of them didn't. Halo has made huge missteps this generation. And now we're looking at Halo Infinite, which got delayed. It was supposed to be the big launch game. Like, when Microsoft lets these studios just work, you get good things. So hopefully they're going to take that approach when it comes to the ZeniMaxes, and as well as the other studios that they've purchased, like Playground Games with Fable, with Rare and Everwild. And as much as, Sea of Thieves is still a game that I think has not clicked with us, I stay tuned, because I think we're probably going to try to play that game again, because of course right after when we played it, they pushed out a big update that solved our biggest issue with the game. But that being said, you cannot deny that the long-term success of Sea of Thieves is a real thing. There are hundreds of thousands of people still playing that game. So yeah, Microsoft owns like 23 studios now.
Right.
And that's just like, as a Xbox consumer, it's like, man, that is awesome. That is so cool. But at the same time, it's also kind of scary. It's just like they're becoming this mega house or mega corporation of video games, and God, like, they've doubled the amount of studios Sony has now in 3 years. That's exciting, but at the same time, it's just like, man, slow down, guys. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe they don't want to, obviously. But
right.
I guess I don't even know what I'm saying at this point anymore. But it's a lot. There's a lot going on at Microsoft, and as a gamer, it's awesome to see a company that has all this money investing in something that I deeply care about. But at the same time, I'm with you, and it's like,
I just wish they.
That
I just wish they could invest it. And again, it's not without lack of trying. I just wish they could have invested it in a more creative way that bred new and more exciting IPs, as opposed to let's buy out this mega corporation over here that's already making these games, and you're going to get the same games again and again and again anyway. It's like buying EA
but that's
and then being
that's the
like,
question,
we
though.
get Madden night, we get Madden, you get new Madden now. It's like, of course, it's like the last Madden. It's like I'm not like in my like we said, Microsoft is not going to get involved in what Bethesda's doing. They're not going to say, "Hey, Bethesda, your engine's trash. How about you update that engine?" They're
Right.
like,
But-
no,
but-
push out another,
but
push
now
out
that
another
they-
Fallout.
There has to be something to be said. Like, there's a reason that Forza Horizon is next to Gears of War as their best IP by a long shot. And I fully believe the reason they were able to put out 3 of those games that all had amazing quality to them in the span of one generation is because they were targeting only Microsoft platforms. Now, I sort of use that as evidence is because if you look at the release of Forza Horizon 3 on Xbox, fantastic. Exactly what you expect. On PC, not so much. The launch of that game was bad. It was really bad. The game was not optimized well. It worked, but it did not work as smoothly as it should. And so when you look at someone like Bethesda, it's like the fact that if they can focus on the platform of Xbox only and PC only, does that help them? Like, is that going to improve the quality of those games?
Bethesda, no. Bethesda, not
maybe.
at all. But the Doom people, though, it's going to be it's going to be some stuff.
Right. So you could argue that them having to focus on less could make better games for everyone. Some people will probably scoff at that idea, but I think there's a real case to be made that less workload on developers and not having to live up to such higher expectations. Like when you ship a game on more platforms, you need to sell more copies of that game. That's just how it works. The more time and work you put in, the more you have to get out of it. So the fact that they don't have to worry about that as much, all they have to worry about is making a good game, and Microsoft is worrying about selling you Game Pass. If those two things work in cohesion, everyone's happy. So I think that's a good proposition for the consumer, but I think it's going to take some serious time before we even see if that bet pays off. I mean, you well into this generation, year 4 and 5 of the Series X is either going to be mildly disappointing.
Hold that thought. Be right back. That's the door.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. Can you hear me? Hello.
He's back.
Let's do this.
He's back. From
Where
outer
were we
space. I remember. I wrote it down specifically. All right. In 3,
Hello.
2.
You got me, right?
Yep. Can you hear me?
So I'm sure my levels are the same. Yeah, good to go.
You sure? Are you positive?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
So
In 3,
positive.
2, 1. Year 4 and 5 of the Xbox Series X and Series S are either going to be mildly disappointing due to the amount of studios and the amount of good content they should have, or it's going to be a just like the complete opposite of just like, holy crap, I can't, like, all the games, man. Like, they got all the games. Love Game Pass. I'm playing Forza. I'm playing 22 other games I can only get on Xbox and PC. I have a feeling that's how it's going to go. But
I'm
hard
hoping
to
that's
say.
how it goes. But I mean, at the end of the day, for me, it's going to be a wait and see type of thing. Because my excitement
sure.
is tentative because it's based upon a group of studios that we're all familiar with, whose quality is hit or way miss.
Yep, and that's the other thing. Their games either hit hard or don't hit at all. And I find that strange. I find it really strange that, but the other thing is you can usually call it. Like, very few times have I seen a Microsoft game and been like, either that's going to fail or it's not. Like Bleeding Edge, everyone looked at that game and instantly was just like, nope.
Like,
Yep,
no
including
one can
us.
play that. Like, but yeah, and we played it because again, that's also the power of Game Pass. Of like, I was not going to buy that game. Like, I was curious about the game, but not curious enough that I was going to buy it. But because of Game Pass, we gave it a fair shot, and the market still said nope. So that's the kind of stuff that they need to work on. And I think Game Pass will help them at the same time though, because
Are they even going to do first party games still at this point? Because what's the point?
to sell Game Pass, if
Right. I mean, it's just selling itself at this point.
right. And there's been a lot of speculation about that as well, as like, well, they've put other games, they put Minecraft on PlayStation, on everything really. Minecraft Dungeon, they did the same thing. They put Ori 1 and 2 on the Switch, and it's like Cuphead, but they don't own Cuphead kind of thing. So I don't find a lot of merit there, because like you said, I feel like they did not spend $7.5 billion to put their games on other systems. Like, does that make them more money in the short term? Yeah, releasing on more platforms for sure. But if you are input into the Xbox ecosystem, and like you and I have both said a million times now, is like, it's dumb to not have Game Pass at this point. That's what they're trying to sell you on. Them getting $60 out of you once every 3 years for the next Bethesda game, possibly maybe a Doom game or whatever, that's not the same as keeping you subscribed for 3 years. So,
which is, I mean, and overall, which is, I guess, my hype and my concern is we get more games, probably faster or better, knowing Microsoft and their hole in their money. But at the same time, at the cost of what exactly? Where it's like, yeah, you get it all on the one console, but it's all on the one console. It's like, and then
but I mean, they're pushing xCloud, which, xCloud. I struggle with xCloud in that, like many other things, like today they announced Quibi is shutting down, and instantly my reaction was,
hold on, everybody, hold on. Quibi shut down?
Quibi is shutting down. They announced it today. And
man,
I look at that and I'm just like, yeah, duh. Like, the business plan didn't make any sense. There was a product that no one asked for. And I sort of look at that with streaming, but at the same time, like, I can look at something at streaming and just sort of feel like, I'm like, I think there is a customer for that, but I don't know if their sales pitch is the answer. And that's where I start to struggle with xCloud, in that they are positioning xCloud as a way to sort of make up the lost revenue, as well as supporting PC. They are supporting PC exponentially. Almost every single game is a day one on both, and if not, it comes later kind of thing. Like, you had 2 Gears Tactics and Flight Sim both this year came out on PC only, but they are coming to Xbox, but they are supporting that platform, and they're so, when Phil Spencer was asked the question, can you support the $7.5 billion buyout and can you support that by not putting your games on PlayStation and Switch? And he flat out said, yeah, we can. Like, they clearly see a way to keep those games on their platform, to entice you to their platform without having to start publishing elsewhere. So, granted, in practice, it's a little strange because they have partnered with Nintendo. They have put out games on other platforms, but I don't know. I don't.
It's very interesting when it comes, because ZeniMax operates like every other publisher or whatever, in a sense of, we make a game, we sell that game, we get X amount of money or percentage from that game, and at $60, $70 a clip, and that's how we do business. Whereas now it's going to be like, you're making all these games for Microsoft, and it's going to be day one Game Pass, and it's like, how are you counting those numbers? How is those numbers? this is clearly above my pay grade, but I'd be curious to know how they feel about being bought out by Microsoft, knowing that their revenue stream is different.
Right.
It may not be higher. That's the thing. Like
but at the same time,
I'm sure
if the
Microsoft can
results-
justify it, but can they?
Say that again.
Like I'm sure Microsoft and Phil Spencer can justify the
Sure.
buyout, but can ZeniMax, can Bethesda, can
I mean,
the
if
smaller
they're,
teams
if
in
they're
that do
truly
that?
just saying that things are going to keep going the way they are, I don't see a huge change for them.
But it literally can't though, because your revenue is different. Like, but
I
we'll-
mean,
we'll
but
see.
if as long as that's the thing, and you have to look at it's no longer on a game by game basis. It's not, and it's the Netflix model. It's how are we doing as a platform, and that's kind of how you support it. And it's different. It's so different. I mean, there's no question. Like, I think it was Ryan McCaffrey said this. He said, if the roles were reversed and Sony bought ZeniMax, there would this question of are they going to put it other places wouldn't even exist. Like everyone knows that if Sony bought ZeniMax, it is to buy those IP, it is to have those games specifically only on PlayStation. But because Microsoft's Microsoft's business plan is so different, it's bringing up all these questions. But at the same time, we have examples of this service. Like, you don't see Netflix putting their exclusive shows on other services. Sometimes you can buy them on DVD and Blu-ray and stuff, but they do that specifically to entice you to subscribe to their platform. And I think that's the exact same play here. I don't see Elder Scrolls 6. I don't see Doom, whatever, coming to the other platforms. I just don't see that happening.
I don't see it happening either, but I think for different reasons, considering that that's not, I don't know if that's a real one-to-one, considering PlayStation does not have a service. So
they do, though. They have PlayStation Now.
They don't have a service, so I'll just repeat that. But yeah, it's gonna be super interesting because as a Game Pass subscriber, it's one of those things where I'm excited because I have to be. I don't really have a choice, because they bought the stuff. So it's like, if I want to play the stuff, I need to buy the game or keep Game Pass. I'm not going to pay $70 for Fallout anything ever. So it only makes sense to pay $15 a month instead, play some Fallout, realize it's just Fallout, and then stop playing Fallout.
But then you've got another Doom game to play.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I guess to sort of start wrapping this up, it's going into the next generation. It's underwhelming in a lot of ways, and it's weird to me that the most exciting thing is the future. But that's also sort of par for the course. I mean, these consoles never come out of the gate swinging. They don't. But I still maintain that the Xbox One launch was. Yeah. But that had one game. Xbox One had Dead Rising 3, Killer Instinct, Rise, Halo Master Chief. Like, I still maintain that the Xbox One launch was extremely solid, and people don't give enough credit.
Most of those were garbage, but I hear you.
So, and Forza 5 is great. But going into these new machines, it's weird to me that it's just, I'm just like, man, I'm looking forward to most of year two. And that's just, but again, that could also be the state of the world. If Halo Infinite was coming out and it looked good, we could be having a different conversation. But world events right now, obviously, have changed significantly what's going to be happening with these machines. So, but all right. I think we've basically covered everything that we want to in terms of how we feel about everything going forward. But in terms of the show, I mean, I think I don't see any major changes coming. We've got more listeners than we did at the beginning of the year, and I think that's really all we can hope for. So appreciate all the new listeners for sure, and all the people that have rated and et cetera, et cetera. So, but anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
I'll just say this as the person who once hated the Nintendos and now on a podcast that is purely Microsoft, I gotta say, and we said it a bunch of times, you're a fool if you're on an Xbox and you don't have Xbox Game Pass. And if you know someone who's buying an Xbox or interested, tell them to get the Game Pass because it's necessary to the system.
Yeah, I mean it Game Pass is now Xbox. Xbox is no longer the Xbox, if that makes sense. It's very quickly morphing into that. And again, that is by design, and it is working because I had a conversation with someone 2 days ago, and they asked, like, hey, you getting that PlayStation 5 or that Series X or S? And I was like, yeah, I got an X pre-order. I said, if I'm honest, I'm not super excited about it, but I'm going to have Game Pass. So even though right away I'm not going to be jumping into the next generation and just being blown away, I know that with Game Pass, I'm going to have games to play. And that really is what it comes down to, is just, I just want to play games. And that sounds cliche. It's just like, I just want to play the games. Whoever's got the best games. Yeah, it will always come down to the games. But Game Pass gives me the opportunity to play more games. And I'm still going to have a PS5. I'm still going to have a Switch. And the game I'm looking forward to most is a Switch game right now with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And there's nothing on Xbox that would change that, maybe minus a Doom game now. So that's what it comes down to. And the fact that Game Pass gives me access to more games is why I'm picking an Xbox up first. I still have a PlayStation because that Ratchet & Clank game is looking fire. I want to play that game right now. If that game was a launch game, I would be probably picking up PS5 over Series X right now. But it's not.
I think about it. I would think about it, honestly.
Yeah. And that game looks real good. I really want to play that game. So, but all right. You can let us know how you're feeling about this next generation. You can shoot us an email, gpopfans@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail, and we will read them. Talk to them about it in the air, 574-651-9256. Again, 574-651-9256. So in terms of future episodes on this one, again, since Destiny was pushed, we are still going to be talking about Destiny, but we want to wait for that big update to drop to see how we feel about everything, because they are promising a lot. We need to see if they deliver on getting people into that game, because as two people again that have now jumped back into Destiny expecting that, that is still my biggest hang up with that game. I still don't know how to play Destiny.
I don't know what I'm supposed to
be doing.
What am I supposed to do half the time? I don't get it.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But so in the meantime, we are going to be playing some other games. Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition did pop up. That is a day one release, so as we have to, we are going to be playing that. And so let me look at the schedule here. This episode will be going up then. That will be going up then. So we need another game in between then. So we're going to have one more week. So this will come out, yeah. So we'll need one more game. So the question is, do we pick a game? Do we spin the wheel? What do we do?
We have not spun this wheel in so long.
We did, but then Dishonored happened, and yeah, so clearly just Dishonored is the problem. Now a Microsoft-owned IP, so now we have to love it. That's just how it works.
Right, exactly. Like we love all Microsoft games here on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's spin that wheel.
All right, let me pull up the PC spin. I don't remember where it is now. The PC. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Well, by the way, Halo is apparently at 100 gigs now, so that's the thing. All right, hit that wheel. 3, 2, 1, bing. We have landed on Katana Zero. I actually know about this game.
That sounds great. I like katanas. I like the number 0.
Yeah, it's built in the old school like 2D. So the official description is Katana Zero is a stylish neo-noir action platformer featuring breakneck action and instant death combat. Slash, dash, and manipulate time to unravel your past in a beautiful, brutal, acrobatic display. Exceptional combat, overcome your opposition however the situation requires. So I have heard that this is sort of a love letter to those old school side scroller Ninja Gaiden, whatever you want to call it, style game, and I'm into that. Messenger is one of my favorite games, so we'll see that. But there you go. So we'll be doing an episode on Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition, followed by an episode on Katana Zero. And then most likely we'll be at Destiny 2 then, and we'll be talking about the launch of the Series X, etc., etc. But all right, that's going to do it for this episode. Again, you can write us gpopfans@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on one of your podcast services, give us a rating. They definitely help. Only takes a couple minutes. And if you want to leave us a voicemail, 574-651-9256. That's going to do it for this generation of Game Pass. We will see you next time.
Good day, sirs.
The heat is here, and your AC is working overtime to keep your home cool. Did you know a dirty air filter can make your AC unit work even harder? Keep your AC running smoothly while helping improve your indoor air quality by installing a Filtrete MPR 1900 air filter. It captures 24% more particles in the air than the MERV 13 industry standard, all while letting cleaner, cooler air through. Cleaner air, reliable airflow.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.